better known as Teaspoon, and you're watching Real Fans, Real Talk.
Live from the can. Vibe the can.
This is Real Fans, Real Talk. Real fans, real talk. We as real as you thought. Real fans.
What's going on? Welcome to another live edition of Real Fans, Real Talk. Oh man, I'm it's a lot going on in the sports world this week. World Series action going down tonight. Monday Night Football going down tonight. NBA action going down tonight. The parlays is parlaying all over
Hey man.
But let me introduce my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games. What's going on, man?
Trip, we gotta relax out here in the streets, man. You know what I'm saying? I got a call from an unidentified number that said the feds is watching, man. So we got to move cautiously out here, my brother. But you already know what time it is. Shout out to all the supporters. I see the comment section buzzing. Yeah, I mean it's a sports equinox tonight, right? We got baseball, football, basketball, and hockey. The NBA's off to a great start. Cats is out there hooping like crazy right now. And then we got Mahomes tonight.
Talking there, then it's a whole is it a full moon too? Nah, that's a quarter moon. But I thought if it was a full moon, that'd have been crazy because Real Fans will talk on tonight too.
Right.
I have to get it in, man. What's going on? Let me check in the comments because I see they've been flooding the block. Hold on. Hootie hoo. Just want to get that out the way right now before we get this thing started, man.
Shout out to Will Gordon. He just texted me as well.
Shout out to Will Gordon. Kyrie, what up? He says, what statement did Love and Packers make on Sunday? That they can win a regular season game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's it. Y'all done blew a couple of opportunities this season that should have been in the bag for you guys already. So at this point, it's y'all just doing what you're supposed to be doing. You don't get extra points and brownie points and for that. You don't get a bonus for that, for doing what you're supposed to do.
Right.
I don't know about no statements.
I wouldn't call it a statement. When we picked our picks on Wednesday, I had the Packers to cover the 3.5, which they did. The only thing we talked about last week was really about when somebody asked us, do we trust Love or Rodgers more? And we said Rodgers just because of the history, but we needed consistency from Love. I thought we finally saw it. This is probably the best version of the Packers we've seen since opening day because Micah Parsons was actually wreaking havoc in the backfield. Jordan Love was hitting a bunch of different receivers. Tyler Croft, I mean, he definitely got the memo that it was National Tight End Day because he went crazy on the Steelers defense yesterday.
A couple of tight ends went crazy this week.
Yeah, a couple of tight ends, but he said, I'm going to highlight this on prime time. Now, tonight we're going to see what Kelsey does, but he definitely felt like, I'm going to show y'all what it is. And I thought for the Packers, yesterday was the best they've looked since opening day. They put a couple wins together, but yesterday that offense looked like they was able to get up and down the field anytime they want. And consider the Steelers had the lead at half, and from the second half on, the Packers really just said, nah, we good. We're going to show y'all who the best team on this field is, and they took over. So I wouldn't call it a statement. They won a game that they were favored to win anyway. Again, they were 3.5-point favorites. But I just like the fact that their offense was clicking and their defense looked pretty good. Michael Parsons was able to get pressure whenever he wanted yesterday.
Let me ask you this, because you mentioned tight end day. Pause. It's crazy we can't even talk football no more. But
we just gotta be cautious,
But that's part of the reason why I say I ain't take the cash out on the parlay. It's because it's tight end day. Now, do you think we see the old Travis Kelce show up tonight on tight end? Because it's his week. Because I feel like this might be a 2-touchdown day from Travis Kelce.
It's crazy you say that because I put a ticket in. We talked about Mahomes 2 touchdowns today. For people, if you don't lock it on Wednesday, you're missing out. Trip is on the cusp of a victory today on a parlay. I won a nice little parlay. I won 2 actually parlays yesterday. But one of those we had was the Mahomes 2 touchdowns. So I put the Mahomes 2 touchdowns. I put it on a separate ticket today with Kelsey to score 2 touchdowns as well. For that reason, because I just felt like it makes sense. Kelsey has been kind of flying under the radar. Everybody's so hyped about Rashid Rice right now. Nobody's paying attention. And on a primetime spot,
exactly,
National Tight End Weekend,
this is perfect.
Kelsey reminds everybody, hey, I'm one of the all-time great tight ends. And it could be a historic night either way because just from a reception standpoint, I believe Zach Ertz is like 2 receptions away. That's what Will Gordon had texted me about. Zach Ertz, I believe, is 2 away from joining the 800 catch club for tight ends, which is a great accomplishment in itself. But then just like I said, where Kelsey might remind everybody, hey, that's cute, but I'm still Travis Kelce.
Exactly. So shout out to Kelsey and my homeboy. Y'all go ahead and do that thing. Finish this good old week off of football. Let me see here what we got next. LSU fires Brian Kelly. Yeah. Listen, what can I say? He didn't get the job done. And schools, teams, whether it be college, professional, nobody's waiting. This is a microwave age that we are in. They expect you to win championships now. They expect you to win bowl games now. They expect you to have undefeated seasons now. Not in 2 years, not in 3 years. You have to do it right now, or they're gonna get the next guy up in there. That's it. That's just how the cookie crumbles.
The landscape of college football, as we know it, has completely changed. There is too much money being put into these teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're being run like pro organizations. A lot of these high-profile colleges have a general manager who is allocating the NIL money, who is recruiting guys to transfer. So LSU is one of the biggest programs in college football. The amount of money they're paying, not only Brian Kelly, but their players, they expect to be a top 10 team all the time. You can't have slip-ups. You can't have a couple off weeks. And now we're starting to see that. Unfortunately, college is starting to operate like the NFL. If you don't get it done right away, we're going to move on to the next head coach and get a new program in.
Yeah, because the money is there. And what's going to happen is once you start having losing seasons or seasons where you miss a bowl game, right? Once all that stuff starts happening, guess what? These kids are already going to different schools because they got this Hall of Fame coach over there, or they got this high profile situation over there, or that NIL money is just too crazy over there. So if you're not a winning program, you ain't even really got a shot no more because the NIL money is there. So now that the NIL money changed the game completely. So it is like, yes, you have to be winning. You have to be going to bowl games because that is the only way that you're going to get these kids to come to your schools because now they can get that money from anywhere.
Yeah, like I said, you've got to execute. You got to perform pretty quickly. At a school like LSU, there ain't no rebuild years. They expect to be championship contenders every year.
Exactly. Shout out to Ron. He says, does Jerry Jones have to make a trade right now? No. Unless there's like a really good trade, but he doesn't need to force anything right now, honestly, because the reality is nobody's expecting Dallas to make it to. I mean, we don't even know if they're gonna make it to the playoffs, let alone to get to a Super Bowl and win this season. They already made the trade for Micah Parsons and got the extra draft picks for next season. This season should just be we're going to build this chemistry. Let's get our rookies up, and then we're going to come next year with all the first-round draft picks that we got in the Micah Parsons trade, and then we're going to load up. But right now, realistically, unless it's like a real something like you just can't say no to, and then who are you sending out at this point?
Well, I mean, if any trade they make would have to be for picks. To answer the question, no, because one, we're only talking about this because of the Cowboys brand. Any other team, let's put this in proper perspective. Any other team whose quarterback was coming off a major injury, whose wide receiver had just missed a couple weeks, whose defense doesn't have the pieces to be a Super Bowl contender defense, we wouldn't ask if they need to make a trade, right? But because it's the Dallas Cowboys, we're asking, should they make a trade? No, they should. This is a team that needs to, as you mentioned, work on building chemistry, work on scouting for the upcoming draft, and figuring out what the next moves are for the next 3 to 4 years for this organization, what direction they're going to go. Even if you make a trade, there isn't one singular player who's going to change what happens for the Dallas Cowboys this year. There is no one guy, whether you're talking about a cornerback whether you're talking about another defensive player, there isn't anybody that you can just go get and say, all right, now we immediately become a better team. Each one of these situations require multiple players, I think, here for the Dallas Cowboys. So if you're Jerry, the right thing to do is continue on the path you're already on now. You traded Micah away with the long-term view of knowing, hey, we got 2 first-round picks that we're going to try to build through the draft. They've spent a lot of draft capital the last couple of years on the defense side of the ball. I think that's the right way to go in the next draft. And with 2 picks, you can still address certain areas. But realistically, outside of Dak and those 2 receivers, and Jake Ferguson has played well too, so I don't want to exclude him. But outside of those guys, you don't have your long-term answer at running back in Javonte Williams. You still need help on your offensive line. You definitely need help on your defensive line. Trayvon Diggs might not be there after this season, so you're probably going to need some help in the secondary. Him and Malik Hooker might be gone. So there are a lot of holes to fill. So making a trade now only looks good in the headlines, but it doesn't look good for the long-term success of what you're trying to build.
Yeah. So let me go to Nardo. He says, most desirable head coaching opening, LSU, Florida, or Penn State? I'll be honest with you, any one of these schools is a great look. Obviously, Florida, national champion, like these are all schools that are in the upper pedigree of football programs. These schools produce a lot of NFL talent. So any one of these schools is a great job wherever you go. What I'm saying? I'm interested, obviously, to see what happens at Penn State because I know Josiah Brown is out there playing wide receiver. So I'm interested in seeing who takes over that coaching job personally. But any one of these is a hell of an opportunity.
I think it depends on the type of coach you are as well. Penn State is a tough job because obviously you have to out-recruit Ohio State and Michigan. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, in that region, I don't know if you can out-recruit those 2 schools just because of the pedigree they have. So that becomes, to me, would be LSU or Florida. There is a great tradition down there, but obviously we know a lot of the best high school football players are coming from the South. So it's easier to recruit in that region. You have a pedigree in that region already that you can target, and you have recent success. Penn State doesn't have any recent success. There isn't a high school player now that knows about anything when Penn State was actually a national powerhouse. But a lot of these kids that are in high school now know about LSU and know about the talent that's come through LSU, the Justin Jeffersons, the Jamar Chase, right? They know about these guys, the Joe Burrow. They know about these guys. Same thing kind of with Florida. So I think it's a little easier to go there. I would say LSU is probably the best situation because they've had the most recent success. They've put the most guys in the draft recently as well. And it's probably easier transition to recruit at LSU than it would be Penn State or even Florida.
Yeah. See, here's where a school like Penn State is gonna get a little boost is when you get guys like Saquon who become one of the top players in the league. That's where they're gonna get their help from. So they need to have more of that. What they should be looking into is you might want to bring in one of them Hall of Fame guys, come in and coach your team. Try to get a Ray Lewis or one of them caliber of players. Ed Reed, somebody. I mean, I know Ed Reed's already coaching right now, but you know what I mean. Somebody of that echelon to come into the school because that will balance the scales between that and the NIL money. It'll help to balance the scales when you talk about recruiting.
I think for a school like Penn State specifically, I think you have to target somebody who has a connection to the program and the history of the program. So no disrespect to the names you mentioned, but none of those guys have that connection. You need somebody who the boosters and the alumni can kind of gravitate towards and be like, oh, I remember when this guy played here. And that's why I say the recruiting.
Colorado, and that's still.
Yeah, Colorado was so down at the time. Penn State was just in the playoffs last year. So Penn State, the boosters and their school aren't looking to just immediately rebuild. The reason they fired Jay Frank,
they already locked in.
Yeah, they want to be locked in. They want to be connected to what's going on, and they want to be playoff worthy. So I think you got to go after somebody who is connected to the past while shows the ability to recruit. Mm-hmm. In a school like Colorado, again, Colorado didn't have success for almost 30 years. So it was easy for Deion to go there and do what he did in terms of generating hype and generating interest. For Penn State, they were just in the playoffs. They need somebody to come in and that's going to recruit. And like I said, the real challenge for them is you're recruiting against Ohio State and Michigan. You're recruiting against two of the real blue bloods of college football, and you haven't had the type of success they've had. For me, LSU, to your point, right? Saquon is a great Nittany line, right? But Saquon has been in the NFL now 8 years, 9 years. There are kids, again, in high school who remember when Saquon was in college. There is where there's kids who are in high school right now, Joe Burrow only been in the NFL like 6 years. You know what I'm saying? Chase, Jefferson, them guys are very new to the NFL. So it's easy to be like, hey, I want to go to LSU and do what those guys did. I want to be able to follow in their footsteps. Yeah. And so that's why I say it's tough. Penn State is still a great Division I program, and it's one of the elites. You know, again, we're not talking about some BS school in the Midwest. We're talking about a really good school.
They just had a huge setback from, I ain't gonna, I don't want to bring up the old business, but they had a little setback.
Yeah, they had a setback, and they just got to figure some things out.
Mm-hmm. Eric, I'm gonna pass this question right on over to you. Let you answer this one. Shout out to Nardo. He says, "Do the Colts have the best offense in the NFL?"
Absolutely. It is the greatest show on turf. They are 7-1. They could easily be 8-0 if not for Adonai Mitchell dropping the ball at the goal line against the Rams. I think everything they're doing right now is great. It's at a very high level, running the ball and passing. They're the only team in the NFL this year who's got a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. So all the pieces are there. Now, obviously, the biggest elephant in the room is Daniel Jones come playoff time. You know what I'm saying? Can he continue the success?
He had some success now. We ain't gonna
right. So no, that's what I was gonna say. We've seen him play well in the playoffs that year with the Giants. Yeah. But for what the Colts are doing right now they've raised their ceiling. Now they've put themselves in a situation where people are really talking about, could the Colts be the best team, like Nardo said, in the NFL? Are they better than the Chiefs? Like if they went toe to toe with the Chiefs, can Daniel Jones hold his own against the Chiefs in a way that would kind of eliminate anything Patrick Mahomes does? But right now, they're the best offense in football. I think they're the best team in football. Jonathan Taylor should be the MVP as of right now. Yeah, I don't think anybody's having a larger impact on their team. Yeah, he's doing it all, and so
he's doing what Saquon did for the Eagles last year.
Exactly, but I also think that the biggest difference with the Colts is you see the ability to get explosive plays in the run and pass. Because as you saw yesterday, Jonathan Taylor goes off. Shout out to Saquon, he went off as well. He helped win a ticket for me. But Jonathan Taylor goes off. But you also saw Michael Pittman go for 90 yards yesterday. You see Tyler Warren every week with 5 or 6 catches. So there's a lot of weapons on this team that make this a very dangerous offense.
I'm gonna take Day-Day's question for myself here. Did the Ravens save the season? Ravens errors, all concerns. Well, they definitely saved the season. And not only did they save the season, they got a little help from the Steelers. They got they got the help from the Packers. They got a little more help from the Jets with the miraculous come from behind victory they had over the Broncos. So the Ravens had a really good week. And now you go on a Thursday night game where you get Lamar back, to play against a Dolphins team that has been one of the worst teams in the league this season. And they got a little stretch. They got a little comfort where they can go on a nice little run, win a couple of games and try to, get close. But they definitely saved the season. This division is completely open right now.
Sorry, I think the Ravens saved their season. We talked about it. We didn't want to count them out because we knew they were getting to a point in their schedule, kind of the softer part of their schedule.
We got Tyler Huntley back. I don't even know, because when he's in, it's basically it's like Lamar Jackson light. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to change what they do offensively.
Right. They're able to they're able to kind of run the same playbook without having to make too many adjustments. I just don't want to count the Ravens out because, like I said, there's too much winning that has taken place there the last couple of years to think that they were just going to fold.
Yeah,
you knew they were going to put up some sort of fight. Now,
and they'll get help eventually too.
Right? Is it too late? Only time will tell. But they still got 2 games left against the Steelers. They're in a soft part of the schedule where we highlighted last week, including yesterday's game. Their next 5 games were all very winnable games.
Yeah.
So they get an opportunity to get back in the mix of things. And I think the fact that the Steelers have now lost 2 in a row has allowed the Ravens to stick around, because even the Bengals shouldn't be in the mix at this point. The Bengals have not played well without Joe Burrow, and yet they're still in the mix. So exactly. I think that division is still wide open.
Joe Flacco held us down on the parlay too. So
right.
Shout out to Joe Flacco. Even though he took the loss and got the 2 touchdowns for me. I couldn't ask for anything more. All right. Bigger NFC threat, the Eagles or the Packers? I mean, I gotta say the Eagles just because they're the champs, even though they haven't, played this isn't their best season we've seen from them. It's definitely not what we saw last season. But I gotta say the Eagles, they're the champs. The Packers, you know what I'm saying? Like, they still have to prove that they can do what the Eagles have done multiple times.
I mean, if these are your options, then you gotta say the Eagles. Because Jordan Love has never made it to a Super Bowl. Obviously, we know Jalen Hurts has played in 2. Nick Sirianni has coached 2, whereas Matt LaFleur has never been to a Super Bowl either. But I think this is, I think we're narrowing it down to 2 teams when really the NFC is far more wide open. I think the Rams are still really good. I think the Buccaneers are really good, and the Buccaneers got to get healthy. I think the Lions are still in the mix. And I think depending on how the NFC West shapes out, Seattle is going to be in the mix as well. So like I said, there's still 3 or 4 other teams that I really like to be a threat in the NFC. But if these are the 2 options that you're giving us, then I'm going to say the Eagles just because of their recent history.
Now I'll tell you what though, Squeezy, ask this question again in 3 weeks, because the Eagles got a rough 2 games coming up, and I don't want people to think that they turn things completely around based off of this game against the Giants. So ask that again in 3 weeks. Squeezy says, are the Eagles better off without AJ Brown? Hell no. No, they're not better off without AJ Brown. Like, he's one of the best wide receivers in football. Like, he needs to be on the field. Even if he's just on the field as a distraction, just to free some other stuff up, he needs to be on the field. Like, no, they should not. He needs to be out there. He's a big part of the success they've had over the couple of years, going to and winning Super Bowl. He's a big part of that. So, they need AJ Brown out there.
When everything is clicking, he's too important to that offense. I think what we just saw yesterday really was there wasn't a pressure to get AJ Brown the ball. And so, spread it around. They got a lot of weapons. Like, let's not forget, aside from AJ Brown, when this team is right, Dallas Goedert is one of the best tight ends in football, right? Devontae Smith. If Devontae Smith played on any other team, we would be asking if Devontae Smith is one of the best receivers in football. But because he's in Philly and AJ Brown is the number 1, he has to play in his shadow. So there's a lot of weapons there for Jalen Hurts. But they're still not better off without A.J. Brown, because when defenses get better and competition gets better, you want A.J. Brown. You need that physical presence at wide receiver. So I'm not ready to go that far and say they're better off without him.
Will says Saquon had 15 touchdowns last year. Till has 14 through. It's crazy. That's a fact. Let me go back up to the top. 1 second. Oh, shout out to Will. Okay. Kyrie says, more encouraged by the Ravens or discouraged by the Bears? Well, I'm definitely more encouraged by the Ravens because they needed this. They could not afford to lose that game. And the fact that they won it without Lamar Jackson just makes that even bigger win for them. It's the morale boost that they needed. I'm not really discouraged by the Bears because for a team like that, which is a fairly younger team with a young quarterback, this is a game that you could go in and it's like, all right, we got a good record this season. We've played well, and a game like this could get away from you when you got a very good veteran football team. This is one of those where it's like, damn, you could. They should have won it, but it's like it's understood that the Ravens get the win in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say I'm discouraging the Bears because I don't think the Bears have really played well. They've won some games, but I don't think they've looked well. I guess I'm more encouraged by the Ravens because we needed to see them get back on a winning path and then see what they can do from here. Because like I said, this team has too much talent. Even with the injuries, the team has too much talent to be losing as many games they lost to start the season. So I guess I'm more encouraged.
We got a baseball question. Game 3 of the World Series. Who y'all got? They're going to Toronto tonight, correct?
No, they're going to LA.
They're going to LA? Oh no, yeah, okay. This series is gonna be short. It's good. This series is gonna be real short. I'm sorry. I think the Dodgers are gonna run off the next 2 at home, and Toronto will probably get 1, and then they're gonna close it out back in LA.
I got LA to win tonight. They got Glasnow pitching against Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer looked good in his last outing, but I'm still not convinced. I mean, he's like 42, 43 years old. I don't know if he's gonna be able to handle that LA lineup tonight. I don't think it's going to be a short series. Remember, I told you beforehand, I thought Toronto could make this a very competitive series because they can hit. Mm-hmm. I just think tonight is a tough matchup because you got Glasnow on the mound. You look back at his last couple outings, he's had 8 strikeouts in back-to-back playoff performances. So he's been very strong in his last 2 outings. So I expect that to continue tonight. I think the Dodgers win tonight. I think Toronto does find a way to get one of these games in LA before heading back home, though.
Okay. Ron says, which team is the best team in the AFC, Bills or Patriots? I don't want to disrespect Josh Allen, who is, the MVP, but I'm gonna have to say the Patriots right now, and a lot of it, and I don't want to slight them, but a lot of it is due to the fact that they are 1-0 on Buffalo on the season, and they controlled that game, so a lot of it's that. But I do want to actually also give Drake May his props because we saw that he was going to be all right last season. They just had nothing.
Yeah, they didn't have anything.
But this season they have some weapons for Drake May, and it shows. The improvement shows, and he was all right. I could tell he was going to be an all right quarterback, but he's definitely took a nice step up from where he was last season, and that's the team as a whole. Really, they've played some really good football. They're winning the games they're supposed to win, and they're shocking us in a couple of games where it's like, damn, I'm kind of, I didn't know they could, but they're doing what they got to do. So I got to go with the Patriots right now.
I think so too, and that's no knock on Josh Allen. He is an MVP candidate again this year. But when you look at just the balance that the Patriots have, and as you talked about, Drake May is using all of his weapons: Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry, the running game, the 2 running backs with Henderson and Stevenson. This kid, Keshawn Boutte, who's come on and scored a touchdown in the last 3 games. He's spreading the ball around, and they just seem much more confident. Whereas when I watch Buffalo, sometimes I wonder, we saw this a couple weeks ago against Atlanta, when they couldn't really run the ball. Mm-hmm. Josh didn't have anybody he could trust passing.
Yeah.
And I see the opposite with Drake May. It's the last couple of weeks, the Patriots have started off a little slow and they're behind, and then it's all right, Stephon Diggs. I'm going to get Stephon Diggs going. I'm going to get Hunter Henry going. We're going to get the running game going. And he himself can run. So I just like the collection of weapons. Josh Allen is the best player if we're talking just these 2 teams. But the collection of weapons, I like the Patriots. And I think Mike Vrabel was a head coach. Yeah, they're more balanced. And Mike Vrabel was a head coach. Again, it's showing you why it's so important to have a quality head coach. Because when he can schematically get you ready week in, week out, there aren't too many surprises you're going to see on the field. Like you said, Drake May, he's not that much more experienced than he was last year. Right? He hasn't even started 20 games in the NFL yet because he didn't start every game last year. He sat out the first month and a half. So to just see the progression from last year when a team who won 4 games now already has 6 wins, a lot of that has to do with the coaching, with the balance, and just how they prepared every week.
Yeah. Chiefs versus Commanders. Who y'all like tonight? Well, I'm going for the Chiefs. I mean, I would have been going for the Chiefs anyway. But Kansas City's offense is clicking right now. They're looking like the Super Bowl caliber team that we've came to know and love. And it's tight end day. And if we compare tight ends from these two teams, I'm definitely going to take Kelsey, especially on this day.
Chiefs. No Jaden Daniels. This is already a defense that's struggling. Marshawn Lattimore is going to have a tough day today. With all the receivers that the Chiefs have. Yeah, no matter who he's guarding. I mean, I wish there was a FanDuel prop where you could ask over under on pass interference calls on Marshawn, because I'm willing to put that over on that at 3 for tonight.
That's crazy, because I was just thinking 3.
Yeah, we going to listen. That's a bet we just created. We're going to see, because I think that's going to be an issue there. Yeah, just the Chiefs, man. We talked about it last week. They looks like they're back. They got their receivers back. Their offense is clicking, and Mahomes is playing at an MVP caliber level. So I think they're back.
Day says Carson Wentz will undergo surgery on his left shoulder and will miss the rest of the year. I mean, he wasn't playing for nothing anyway, so it don't even really matter.
The interesting part of this was we talked about last week how they were saying J.J. McCarthy's done for the rest of the year.
So now he's going to be healed automatically now?
So now, if you're the Vikings, you chose J.J. McCarthy over bringing back Sam Darnold, who's with the Seahawks having a good year. I forgot Daniel Jones was on that Vikings team last year too. So you had Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold. You didn't keep either one of them because you thought JJ was the guy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
After 2 weeks, you moved on from JJ for Carson Wentz, who's on his 5th NFL team.
Oh my goodness.
Now Carson Wentz is done for the year. Who the hell are you going to play at quarterback?
Well, we gonna see next week who they put out there. Will says, any predictions of players being moved before the trade deadline? I mean, I don't know about any big names being moved before the trade deadline, but I'm sure there's a couple of wide receivers and running backs that'll be on the move.
And I'm about to answer that. I just looked it up. Now the Vikings are saying J.J. McCarthy will start next week. They just said last week he was done for the year.
Wow. Some of these organizations be jokes.
Yeah. Any players, he said any big names on a move? I think maybe in name, but not in impact. I wouldn't be surprised if Kirk Cousins gets traded. We know there's been some teams looking for quarterbacks. Maybe a reunion, maybe him going back to Minnesota, but also don't be surprised if the Jets make a move, because Tyrod Taylor's out. And there was a report that the Jets did actually make calls last week about quarterbacks. So they may be in a market maybe to bring in a veteran, because we know Justin Fields hasn't played that well there. So I think
his name is Winston for the Giants.
I'm surprised, but I think the Giants really like Jameis in the locker room, like as far as like a leadership guy, and maybe they don't want to lose that. So maybe Russ is probably more likely to get traded. But like I said, I don't think impact guys. I think if we're saying names, yeah, those are names. But I don't know if any major impact guys will get traded.
All right, Day says SJ has just been off the chain the first week of the season. They undefeated, and Shea just putting up crazy numbers. If they healthy, I see 62 wins. I mean, they was first place last year. What did they get last year?
I was gonna say, I think they won like 64 last year.
Yeah, they could do that again. They did. This is a young team. That's one thing that Eric and I have been saying.
They won 68 last year. They won 68. 62 is pretty low. That's low.
You kind of disrespecting them right
there. Yeah, they 62 might not even be that big. That might not be that much of a struggle for them.
We're talking about the MVP of the league right there, and all them guys, man. And the way Chet out here balling, boy, shoot, they might get 70. If Shea gonna be Chet gonna be putting up 30 and 12 every night, shoot, they might win 70. You can believe that, because they out here hooping. There's a lot of guys out to start the season, though.
They out here hooping, and do they have Jalen Williams back? He's still out, right?
Oh, he wasn't playing the other night.
Yeah. So he might be their second best player.
Exactly. I think Chet gonna send to being their second best player this year.
Well, Chet probably moves up to that role. But I'm just saying from last year's team, you're talking about, who was just your number 2 guy. You haven't even had him yet this year. You're still rolling.
Yeah. Shout out to Hoop Central. He says the big news is the gambling scandal with Billups, Rozier, and Damian Jones being arrested. Overall thoughts on this? And isn't Damian in Bron's inner circle? I mean, yeah, he's somebody. He's one of Bron's guys. He's one of his friends. They play gamble. I guess they gamble together as well. Gilbert spoke on that. But in regards to the gambling scandal, I mean it sucks for basketball as a whole. My main issue though, like obviously, the gambling is bad what they was doing, but my main issue was Chauncey Billups cheating his own homies out of bread. Like that's what I was like. I ain't kind of even really care too much about the game. I'm like, excuse me, but we bet all the time. Like that ain't no thing. You know how many illegal dice games we didn't been a part of that wasn't supposed to happen. So I'm not even really mad at that. But the fact that you got cameras and you looking at your cards at these poker games, and a lot of the times it's people that you run with that's at these games. That's the part that's foul to me.
The amount of money that was put into this operation, like they talk about X-ray tables and glasses, like UV glasses that could read the markings on the cards. That's crazy. And then there's been a circulation from a high stakes poker player. This interview was done a couple of years ago where he's talking about where he heard about some of these things and people were trying to recruit him to go play. And he was like, nah, because I haven't heard good things about it. I heard from some other people, they think the game's a little fishy. And mind you, this is a podcast he did like 3 years ago talking about that. So the word had been out. It's unfortunate that Chauncey's caught up in this because he's a Hall of Fame player, but his career in the NFL is over at this point. He'll never be trusted to coach again. He'll never be trusted to be in any type of inner circle again. And like you said, and you snaked your homies, like you snake people in the process. So now you've lost the trust of a lot of people that probably would have supported you otherwise. But now, again, you're looked at as a guy who just can't be trusted.
Yep. Terry Rozier, another one, he's done. Like that's it. Ain't going. That's one. You're gonna be if you're going to jail. Career's definitely over anyway. But they wasn't gonna bring you back if whenever you did get out. Like that's over with. So yeah, it just I don't understand it. Like y'all cats getting too much money for this. Too much for this, man.
I don't understand, and maybe I'm just thinking about it on a lower level and not grasping it from their perspective. But like Damon Jones is a prime example, right? If I'm privy to information and I know this information could be used to make money, and let's say I decide to partake, I got to insulate myself and have like 3 or 4 ways that I'm communicating with people so that it just doesn't come back to direct contact. Like, Eric spoke to this guy on this day.
Yeah.
They pulled text messages where he spoke to somebody, gave them the heads up, and then said, make sure you place a little extra for me. And then like 2 days later, there's a text exchange with that same person when they're like, yo, I'm going to drop this money off to you. Like, no, bro, you don't.
First of all, why are you even texting that?
Hold on. What Denzel said, American Gangster, you speak to Louis, then Louis speak to me. Speak to him. Don't nobody speak to me. Yeah, don't nobody speak to me directly.
Bruh, that don't make no sense. Let's just say, Eric, let's just say you work for the Knicks. I'm like, all right, Eric just came to me. Not even came to me because the way the guys told it, there's one dude where he was just like, he just happened to be on the phone around somebody from the team, and he just heard him say, such and such was going to be out tonight. So let's just say I'm sit back and I get that info. I'm not calling the homies. I'm not texting nobody that. I might tell you, pull up, come meet me somewhere. This is a conversation we're going to have in person. There ain't going to be no paper trail to some insider because this is illegal, bro. Like, what all of this, the gambling on, the sports betting with the players, you know how these leagues feel about that. You know how colleges feel about that, especially when you're talking about shaving points and different things like that. You know how that is looked upon. You don't get into sports and don't know that that is one of the most frowned upon things in the world of sports. From every sports league, all of the colleges, that is one of the most frowned upon things.
Yep.
So the fact that you up here texting cats talking about, yeah, send the bread over here, I'm gonna send you, like that don't even make no sense to me. Like,
I don't understand. Like, bro, y'all not using burner phones. Y'all actually using y'all personal phones.
yeah,
Y'all ain't got no burner phones. You like, if those are the type of moves we gonna make, like you said, Trip, I would talk to you in person, like, yo, I'm gonna relay the message through such and such, and they'll talk to you. But we're gonna coordinate a system so that nobody can kind of timeline this. The text messages and all that is they was able to timeline the whole thing together, and they could know what games they was betting on and what information he was given. You know, like, come on, bro. Yeah, and I don't understand why Damon Jones and Chauncey to a lesser extent too, because Chauncey they're claiming that there's proof of a game that they feel he threw on purpose, where this was when Dame was still there, and he mysteriously sat all the starters. That's also in the indictment. But they know the feds was bringing this information together. They are, when I say they, I mean those on the inside of the NBA circle. They know how the league is looking at this stuff because they have already been alerted to, hey, suspicious activity is going to trigger an alarm, right? If you don't put out an injury report by a certain time, we just saw this the other day with the Ravens, it's going to trigger an alarm. It's going to trigger a red flag. We're going to think something suspicious is going on. So knowing all that, that's why you have to insulate yourself and say, nah, I got to put 2 or 3 people between me and that person that might be placing that bet. Yeah, I can't allow just me having direct contact with that person because then all they're going to do is they're going to create the timeline off those communications. I need to have 2 or 3 people that you probably had to speak to before that information got to me and vice versa. That way, there's never a way to link us together.
Exactly. Will think we got to investigate. He says we need to look at that run Braun had against Chauncey and the trade to get to the finals now. How many straight fights did he have? It was 24, 25, something like that. It was like, you know, that's crazy. Don't try to bring Braun down. This clown already getting, you know what I'm saying, Braun name involved in this.
Braun, I think, is gonna be subpoenaed in this case.
Yeah, because he was going to him to get the, you know what I'm saying?
Braun is going to be subpoenaed for a number of reasons. One, him and Damon Jones is too close. And they're going to want to know, again, I'm not saying that Braun is going to get caught up in the indictment. They're going to speak to Braun. Yeah. And don't forget, Chauncey is a Clutch client. So they're going to want to know how much did Clutch know about what Chauncey was doing, and then how far out does this web go?
They just and say we ain't know nothing about what he had going.
No, that of course that's what Braun has to do. Yeah. But I'm just saying, in general, it's bound to happen. Braun is going to be brought up in questioning because they're going to want to know how wide of a range did this go? Because if Chauncey's a Clutch client, and let's say y'all spent a couple weekends in the summer, you know, playing golf or playing cards, they're going to want to know, what did Chauncey ever say around you? What did Chauncey ever insinuate? You know what I'm saying? Because again, if these rumors about this card game have been out there for years and people had already saying, yo, I think something fishy going on. You're LeBron James. You're telling me you didn't hear anything about this? Nobody ever came back to you and was like, yo, I think Chauncey's doing something a little fishy with the card games. Yeah. So Braun is going to have to speak on it at some point.
Shout out to Imani and shout out to Imani's pops too. She says, yo, I know it's first week, but Wemby might be the best player in the NBA. Eric, I remember your boy last year said he is or will be best player, and we laughed at him. Wemby is something we never seen. I mean, the way he came out to start this season, it might be because he looks like he will get MVP and Defensive Player of the Year this season. That's how he looking.
Yeah. Shout out to Vern. She's talking about Vern when he was on the show. That was actually 2 seasons ago because he said that during his rookie year because he was trying to already say Wemby was a top 15 guy. Yeah. And I was like, at that time he wasn't. Wemby's off to a great start. The real issue with Wemby is health.
Mhm.
Last year, he didn't play all season. Obviously, we know the NBA has a long history of guys, 7'2" or greater who have a bunch of injury issues, foot issues, leg issues, hip issues. So I don't wish any of that on Wemby. I want him to stay healthy. If he is healthy, Imani, he will definitely be an MVP caliber player, and he will be a guy that we're going to be talking about as possibly the best player in the league. But health is really the number one thing for Wembanyama.
Yeah. Squeezy says Houston Rockets have come out struggling 0-3, but it's early. Yes, it is very early, so we're not going to jump out the window just yet. But what this does show to me is, that we need to put a little bit of respect on Fred VanVleet's name, because the main reason they're struggling is because they need a point guard, and they need somebody else who can knock down big shots in big moments, not just score baskets, but have impactful baskets. And Fred VanVleet is one of those guys, especially when he gets hot and start knocking down the three. He can do that for you. And Houston, especially because one of the things I watched, because I watched that Houston OKC game, pretty much from start to finish, and a lot of times they struggle. Like it's looking like Kevin Durant or bust. A lot of times for Houston, and that's not the basketball that they played last year. And I know they still have to get adjusted, but a big part of the reason why it's going to take longer is because they don't have that point guard there.
Yeah, that's gonna play a factor in it. And I'm not shocked by their struggles. We've seen this before. Remember when Braun went back to Cleveland and played with those young guys? They struggled early on as well. This tends to happen when you have a major star like a Kevin Durant and he's around some younger guys. It's going to take a little while for them to get acclimated. The younger guys sometimes get caught standing around watching KD go to work as opposed to still playing their role. But once they get going, they're going to be fine. They got a great head coach. They do need a veteran guard to kind of get them in some flow of offense. But overall, I think they're going to be fine.
Let's see. Warriors had a great week beating the Lakers and Nuggets. Man, Steph Curry is arguably still the best show in the NBA. It's just an honor to watch him. I mean, that's the greatest shooter that God ever created. So, yeah, they start. I mean, it's the Warriors, man. They just have to be healthy. Their problem is it comes when Steph's missing time, Jimmy's missing time, Draymond's missing time, whoever, you know what I mean? That's their only issues is guys, missing time because of injuries. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, anytime Steph Curry is on the floor, your team got a chance to win that game. I don't care what you say. And that's still right now to this day. That's why he's still ranked in the top 10 like he's supposed to be ranked in the top 10. So they're going to do well if everybody's healthy. And then you throw in the fact that you got guys like Jimmy Butler. You got a future Hall of Famer in Draymond Green there. You got a champion there with Al Horford. You got young guys there like Kuminga. You got a great coach with Steve Kerr. You got all the pieces there. They just need to be healthy and on the floor.
Yeah. Steph is still amazing. And to your point there, Squeezy, yeah, it's an honor to watch him. And I think we're privileged as fans to get this long-standing run that we've seen from him and the Warriors. So it's great to watch, and it's great to see them get off to a fast start.
Shout out to Dion Hoops page. Says injuries already. Luka out a week. Anthony Edwards out 2 weeks. LeBron out maybe another 3 weeks. Yeah, man, it's an injury bugs. That's what I'm saying, man. It seems like cats is dropping like flies every day. I don't know if we can count on my main man AR to put up 51, every night like he did. Shout out to Austin Reeves, man, dropping that 50. Almost had a triple double. Almost messed around. Had a triple double, man. Shout out to my guy.
Yeah, I mean, the injury part of it sucks, but thankfully it's such a long season that these guys will get a chance. And like I said, I think LeBron's, I don't think this is anything major. I think this is more about just kind of preserving his body for the season. But Luka came in great shape, so it's unfortunate. Anthony Edwards, obviously one of the bright young stars of the game. So it's unfortunate, but luckily, this season runs through.
Zion, something happen to Zion?
I mean, would it surprise us?
No. Shout out to Pooh. Pooh, we're gonna save you no limit cash money questions at the end. That's gonna close the show. All right. I'm gonna take this one though. Shout out to Pooh. She says my uncle says Mavs gotta take Cooper Flag off the point guard spot. I think Mavs lost to Wizards, but we can't wild out first week of the season. So I'm a little torn about this because so if you don't want Cooper Flag to bring up the football, then you're gonna have to start D'Angelo Russell. Excuse me, the basketball. You're gonna have to start D'Angelo Russell. Like there's no in between because there's just because not that he can't, because we've seen point forwards do it all the time, and he can bring the ball up. The problem is the guys surrounding him right now, because he doesn't have all of the pieces. It makes it a little bit more difficult, and that's something that they're gonna have to work on. You'd have to stick with it. But I would say start D'Angelo Russell unless you just want something. We're gonna just run it like this until we get it, unless that's your game plan. But I would start D'Angelo Russell and take some of the pressure off Cooper Flag, because we see that he's gonna be great. Like you can see from the game that he's gonna be great. It's just gonna take some time. If they're gonna have him really playing the point guard and running the offense, then that's gonna take some time. Like they really have to build that chemistry, and then they're gonna have to do it again once Kyrie Irving comes back. Mm-hmm. But that's why I would say if you're just gonna have Kyrie come in and facilitate the offense once he comes back, then you might as well let D'Angelo Russell start right now.
Well, keep in mind, Pooh, I mean, I originally didn't like the idea either. I thought that Jason Kidd was getting a little too cute with the lineup, because they were starting Flag, AD, Derek Lively, PJ Washington, and Klay Thompson. It's one of the bigger starting fives in the NBA. Mm-hmm. But then the more and more I thought about it, I'm like, I think what Kidd is trying to do is two things. One, you're going to get Kyrie back at some point anyway. But I think the other thing he's trying to do is tinker with the lineups in a way that if we get later in the season and we want to play bigger lineups, somebody's got to initiate offense, right? Yeah. Now, that's not to say Kyrie wouldn't be on the floor, but maybe Kyrie's on the floor instead of PJ Washington, right? Or Derek Lively. You're still a pretty large team at that time. I think what Kidd is doing is kind of an experimental phase to see, can Cooper Flag initiate offense if we need him to? Now, if they continue to struggle this way for the next month, then he's going to stop it, and D'Angelo Russell's probably going to start.
Yeah.
But Jason Kidd is kind of playing the long game here and thinking about what are we going to be in March and April, right? Yeah. When we're healthy, we know what Kyrie is, but we're still going to need somebody else who can initiate some offense for us. And maybe Cooper Flag's versatility gives him that, because it allows him to still play bigs. Like I said, you can still go with AD and another big and Cooper Flag on the floor, have these three bigs, but then have a guy also that can alleviate some of the ball pressure from Kyrie and create. Klay Thompson doesn't do that. PJ Washington doesn't do that. And obviously, you're never going to, if Kyrie's healthy, you're never going to have D'Angelo on the floor over Kyrie. So he's trying to figure out, I think he's trying to figure out a secondary guy who can initiate that offense with Kyrie. And it's an experimental phase. So I don't think this is their long-term plan. This is just to see if Cooper can do it and what would it look like with Cooper doing it.
Yeah, and Eric, and I don't know if you remember this, but go back to Jason Kidd coaching the Milwaukee Bucks. If you remember, he was trying to have Giannis run the point out there as well.
He actually was the one who unlocked that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why at first I'm like, depending on what y'all trying to do, but I do understand, because you want to be in a situation where if Kyrie's going down, who's going to run the offense for you? So you want to start building that up now. So I do get it.
Yeah, that's why I just view it as like an experimental phase for them.
Yeah. Nardo says Giannis had a great first week. He did. A lot of guys had a great first week. Luka had a great first week. Wemby had a great first week. Shea had a great first week. Cass is out here hooping. He definitely out here hooping. Let me see. Yo, Philly may be the best young backcourt in the game. Maxey and VJ to me. You might not need Paul George anymore if you're gonna stay hurt. Shout out to VJ, because he came out the gate cooking with 39. His first game. They definitely got a really good backcourt. This is another team, though. Philly is just a team that needs to stay healthy. Like, this is a team that should be competing for a championship every year. On paper, this is a team a championship team. When you got Joel Embiid, who's an MVP, you got Maxey, you got Paul George, and then now you got this kid VJ Edgecombe. If these guys could actually stay healthy, they would be title contenders.
First off, shout out to Dion who plays, but come on, bro. Now we already the best young backcourt after 3 games. As if we don't know that Shea and Jalen Williams are in OKC together. That's probably the best young backcourt in basketball. But they don't need Paul George. They know they don't need Paul George, but they can't do nothing with Paul George. That's a contract that they're going to have to kind of absorb at least for one more season because this is only year 2 of that contract. And you see they got Embiid on a minutes restriction. He's not happy about that, but I also think Embiid's not happy about it because he sees the direction of the team has completely changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about him. And let's not forget Jared McClain, who last year, their rookie, who's playing well. So him, Maxey, and VJ are pretty much the future of this team. That's the direction they're going. They don't need Paul George. I don't think they need Embiid, but they're stuck with those contracts for this year.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
And the tricky part is going to be if those guys do get healthy, how is that going to affect the young guys? Because if those guys get healthy, the pace of the game is going to change for the Sixers. They're no longer going to be up and down because Embiid cannot play that style. Everything is going to be much more half-court, slow, methodical, oriented around Embiid. And so it's going to take opportunities away from VJ, from McCann, and from Maxey. So the best thing for Philly is to try to get away from those veteran guys and kind of live with the young guys' mistakes. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that.
Do you think they try to move Embiid this year?
I think they will, but I don't think he has much value.
Okay.
I mean, let's be real. If we sat here and named the top 6 or 8 contenders, none of them need Embiid. So he's not going to a title contender.
No.
He ain't going to Denver. He's not going to Denver. He's not going to OKC.
10 range.
Yeah. He, like I said, he's not going to Denver. He's not going to OKC. He's not going to Houston.
No.
All right. He's not going to Minnesota.
Nope.
All right. He's not going to New York. He's not going to Cleveland.
Nope.
So that's 6 already.
Would you take him in New York?
No. Hell no. Hell no. I would not take Embiid. Because Embiid,
to get him.
I mean, you would have to give up Towns.
Well, yeah, because you got to match the contract. That's
you got to match the contract. That's the other part of this conversation, too. That's why I don't think he go. If he's traded, it would have to be to a bottom team that has the one that can absorb the contract, and then they're going to be willing to give away picks for him. Yeah. They don't have to worry about matching contract. So that's why he's not going to get moved. Philly, there is no value for a guy who has been injury prone his whole career. He's actually missed more games than he's actually played.
Yes.
So there is no market for him. They can't do nothing with him.
At least if the contract wasn't as high as like maybe you could do something, but that contract is going to make it difficult.
Yeah, if he was an expiring contract like the last year of his deal, then maybe you might get a team who's willing to take a chance to see if he can help them this year. But nobody's absorbing that contract. And the same thing with Paul George. Nobody's taking that contract from him.
Especially for both of y'all to be on the bench rooting guys on because y'all injured again. Yeah. All right, man, let's get ready to finish this thing go so we can get ready for this Monday night football game. Pooh says, talk about the no limit cash money versus. What was the standout moments? Save this for the end of the show. Of course we did, Pooh, because you know we got nothing but love for you, Pooh. I started off the show and I said, hootie hoo. Just want you to know I'm a no limit soldier. I thought I told you. Dope. Versus another one, especially because these are both two cash money and no limit. From my era, your era, Eric. I'm saying we grew up. I'm saying we're both listening to both of these factions. So to see them for the first time ever being on stage together, first and foremost, that was monumental. Now, a couple of things that was like obviously we wish would have been different. Obviously we want Wayne to be there. I want Turk to be there. This is cash money. I want these guys to be there. And then obviously on the other side, I would have loved for obviously we know he got some issues, but Mystical, is a big part of No Limit and who they were and why they were able to do what they did. Like he had some records. He's on a lot of their biggest records and his own biggest, what I'm saying, records are some of their big records. So I thought it was lit, man. Juvie did his thing. He held it down. Chopper, man, when he's chopper style, chopper style, it was lit. But I tell you this, it was Mia X that stole the show. Mia X was incredible. Like female rappers, y'all need to be looking at how she was performing last night.
Mm-hmm.
That conviction, like that's when you get on that stage, that's how you supposed to perform. And then on top of that, she looking good. Like Mia X was up there looking good. I ain't gonna hold you, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause obviously she's older. She was, you know what I'm saying? She was out in the 90s. And she out there, she looked young. That tell you right there, black do not crack. Cause Mia X was up there looking good with her blue hair and the blue on the fatigues and all that. And but I definitely gave the battle to No Limit, man. It just everything was just in unison. How they came out with the fatigues on, you know what I'm saying? Just the song, how they was going back and forth, and then they just turned it up. And then at the end, that last set when Snoop came out, it was like,
yeah,
we kind of, we got to put feet on next right now with this one. And then they messed up, and because like I don't know why they would play a Millie, like
that's I was just about to say. Yeah.
Manny says we got one last one each. They play a Millie, and it was like, yo, bro, Wayne is not even there. Why would you play a Millie? And then that's the mother niggas because I'm dang. Like, then you get that. It's like, how can you end like that, bro? Like that was crazy. But I loved it, man. I loved it.
I gave it to No Limit. I thought the energy was better. I thought just in terms of how they came out, right, with the whole No Limit from the gate, was great. And then playing the big joke at the end, having Snoop waiting, right? When he wasn't out there. Right, he wasn't out there. So that's playing a big joke at that point. But honestly, I was disappointed, Trip, because it barely went on for an hour and a half. I don't even know if they did 20 songs, bro. I'm gonna be honest.
It was like 12 to 13, something like that.
Because they was performing the whole songs. It wasn't like previous verses where somebody would just do one verse of the song. They was performing the whole song. So when they got to the end, I'm like, bro, they ain't been to 20.
And that's the era where them tracks is long.
Yeah. All them tracks were 5 minute long. So it's like, there's no way y'all did 20 songs tonight.
They didn't do 20. It was like 12, 13, something like that.
But, bro, for those of y'all, there was some of y'all in the comment section, there's some of y'all that watched the show that complained and put up a big fucking stink that Lil Wayne didn't get the Super Bowl. This is why Jay-Z didn't pick him to get the Super Bowl. Because he's not reliable enough.
Yeah.
He didn't show up. And to me, just off that, Cash Money loses. Because you're telling me, and then again, great songs, but you telling me Wayne's not there and y'all just letting the audio play of his verse, like you said, from a Millie, from Project Chick. We ain't get to hear Go DJ. We ain't get to hear Fireman. We ain't get to hear 400 Degrees. You know what I'm saying? We ain't get to hear none of that. So that's a major part of their catalog.
And has a lot of their biggest records.
Yeah, that's a major part of their catalog. That's almost like if, and to a lesser extent, I'm not comparing the two, but that's almost like if somebody said, yo, the Jackson 5 doing a reunion, and then you get there and you find out Mike not there.
Yeah,
bro,
that's literally what it was.
I'm like, at that point that I'm good, bro. Like I thought we was getting the group. So
like, if Wayne was there and Turk wasn't there, I'd have been like,
we would have made the exception, right? We'd have made the exception. But I think and Swiss and them will never say. I wonder if Swiss and them thought Wayne was going to be there when they booked this. Because if I'm Swiss, I'm pissed off too. Like, hold on, bro. I'm thinking I'm doing this to get the group.
And then Wayne ain't there, like
right. We, because really, it's at that point it was just Juvie carrying them.
Yeah.
So that to me was disappointing, but ultimately, it was great to hear the classics, and like you said, that was part of an era that we grew up in. So it was great to see them on the same stage, share the stage together, hear the classic songs. But it was disappointing, like I said, that they didn't give us 20 songs, and we definitely didn't get Wayne.
There was two checkmate moves that let you know that No Limit won this thing. The obviously Snoop coming out at the end, but the other one was right before Baby did number one stunner when he started talking that you know, I started this.
Yeah, I started.
Diamonds and this and that, which I thought was cool leading up to him doing #1 stunner. But when P came right back and was like, checkmate, yeah, you did start all that, Birdman. But this is what I started right here. And when he dropped that, oh my goodness. It was like, yeah, he styled on you. Like, it's like they took the streets back.
Yeah, they definitely did. You know what? Another thing I didn't like too, and I understood what Swiss was trying to do, having it at Complex Con because you had so many people there for the event. But the crowd, you could tell the crowd wasn't into it because you had a lot of people that they wasn't from this era. You could see there was a lot of younger people in that crowd. So the energy wasn't the same. You had people, like the camera kept trying to find the people. The camera kept trying to find the people that was excited, that was into it. But it kept showing the same people. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, yo, if y'all would have
in the front with the grill.
yeah, with the grills, you know what I'm saying? But real talk, if they wanted to take it to another level, they should have did that in the Superdome. If they'd have did it in the Superdome, that shit would have went crazy.
Yeah, so I watched you know, with my cousin, and he's like 9 years younger than me. And so I'm trying to explain to him, you know, one thing you have to realize, because that one is that crowd is on the West Coast, right? So and then the Suicide Complex, so you're gonna get a very eclectic audience, but you're also gonna get a younger audience anyway, right? So the problem with that is, if you have a younger audience but it's in New Orleans or even in the southern region, they're gonna know both sides, no matter what, because there's certain songs that when you're from a region, you gonna know. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what. So now it's like, yo, you have it on the West Coast. And again, that's the other thing people don't realize. No Limit was lit from 93 to 2006. After that, P started getting into movies and TV and things like that. Like Romeo might have dropped a song here and there, and you know, guys, you know, may have been doing their individual things, but P wasn't really in the music like that after. So now when you have a young crowd and it's not a young Southern crowd,
right,
it's gonna look like that in the audience. You know what I'm saying? It was some songs people wasn't singing from Cash Money.
Because some of that, because again, it's almost like a cult following. Like, what we talked about, like when Dipset and the Lox did it, right? Being in New York, it had a different impact. So if you weren't from New York, there's some of the songs you probably didn't know or you probably never heard before because you weren't from that region. But us being from that region, every song hit, everything they did hit because we knew the music. I think the same thing. Yeah, I think the same thing would have happened if you do this in New Orleans, because again, it's the music of the region, and even the younger crowd would have grown up on it.
Exactly.
But you had a Complex Con.
I'm about it. But if you from New Orleans,
they would have played Bout It. If they would have played Bout It in New Orleans,
Fiend, you know what I'm saying? Like, you was listening to that. If you from Louisiana, your parents was definitely playing that music.
If they would have did Bout It in New Orleans, especially in the Superdome, that would have been like the equivalent of doing Dipset Anthem in New York.
Yeah.
It would have been on that type of, like, that crowd would have went crazy.
Yeah. Plain and simple. Eric, go ahead, give us a final thought, man.
Man, as always, shout out to the supporters. We greatly appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys tune in Wednesday. We're back 7:30 p.m. We got picks again. Trip, that ticket is going to hit for you today, my brother. So you about to be up on some bread. For those of you that don't, you got to lock in. We're giving y'all picks. They're great picks.
Yes, sir.
They're hitting. We're getting money every week, man. We're trying to spread the love, but if y'all don't want the money, I don't know what to tell you, man. Shout out to my brother Will Gordon. He'll be rocking with us on Wednesday as well. And as always, make sure you guys subscribe. We appreciate it.
Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, man. Just nothing but, you know what I'm saying, love, man. Appreciate y'all once again for supporting us, for checking in with us during the week, coming on the Monday nights, on the Wednesday nights, on the Tuesday if we record, whatever we're doing. We appreciate y'all as always. And with that being said, make sure you following us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, at Real Fan Talk, Facebook.com/Real Fans Real Talk. And of course, subscribe to that YouTube channel, youtube.com/Fans for the Fans Productions. And don't worry, if you're not in New York on Thursdays and you can't watch us on Verizon 43, BPN 2 from 8 to 9 p.m., you can still watch us anywhere in the world. Just go to that website, realfansrealtalk.com, click the red button on the home page, and go ahead and enjoy. And make sure you subscribe to the two best podcasts moving. That's the Real Fans, Real Talk, and the Sanchez Show podcast. Oh, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Y'all know how we doing. All right, with that being said, for myself, Trip Young, and my brother, my co-host, Eric Sanchez, aka Legend in Two Games, we up out of here. Peace.